There's a moment, maybe it's a look, a comment, a passive-aggressive tone that flips a switch inside you. And just like that, your mood shifts, your energy drops, and your day is no longer yours. Sound familiar? That's because most of us have been trained to react. We've been conditioned to let the outside world dictate our inner peace. But here's the truth. No one ever taught us in school. No one can trigger you. Once you understand what's really happening, this video is not just about staying calm. It's about reclaiming the remote control of your mind. Because the moment you realize your emotions aren't reactions, they're choices, you stop being manipulated. You stop being pulled into fights that were never worth your energy. You stop giving people the satisfaction of controlling how you feel. And when that understanding sinks in, everything changes, from how you speak, to how you breathe, to how deeply you sleep at night. If you've ever felt like you're too easily shaken, too easily provoked, or constantly drained by others, this is the shift you've been needing. So listen closely, not once, but as many times as it takes to retrain that reflex. And if this message resonates with you, don't just keep it, share it. With your brother, your father, your team, and your partner. Because a man who can't be triggered becomes a rock in the storm. Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe if you're building your discipline, and let's make peace your strongest form of power. Why reacting always makes you weaker. Reacting feels powerful in the moment. You feel heat rising in your chest, your jaw tightens, your voice sharpens, and you strike back. Someone says something you don't like, and you snap. They cross a line, and you meet them with fire. You tell yourself you're standing your ground, that you're not the type to let things slide. But here's the truth. You didn't win that moment. You lost control. And whether you realize it or not, that loss runs deeper than just words. Because the moment you react impulsively, you've already been triggered. And being triggered means someone else pushed a button in your mind and got exactly what they wanted. Your energy. That's not power. That's emotional vulnerability dressed up as strength. The man who truly possesses inner power does not flinch. He doesn't raise his voice to prove his worth. He doesn't match chaos with more chaos. He remains centered because he understands this. Emotional self-control is the foundation of all real strength. You don't become strong by reacting fast. You become strong by responding slowly. By staying calm under pressure, by being unshakable when others unravel, you create distance between the world and your peace. That distance is everything. It's what separates the disciplined from the easily provoked. And once you learn to create it, to guard it, you become untouchable. Think of it this way. If anyone can make you angry, they own you. If anyone can break your calm with a sentence, they control you. And the truth is, most people are walking around like that, owned. They think they're in charge of their lives, but their emotions are hijacked by every email, every insult, every glance. They explode over small things, then justify it with bigger stories. He disrespected me, or she crossed the line. But these are just excuses. Beneath every overreaction is a man who hasn't yet built the wall between stimulus and response. That wall is discipline. That wall is clarity. And you don't build it overnight. You build it every day, moment by moment, by choosing silence when you could have shouted, by choosing stillness when your ego begged you to strike. This is how mental strength through silence is forged. Not by pretending you don't feel anything, but by refusing to let feelings rule the moment. The man who pauses, who breathes, who observes, trains himself to stay grounded, even when provoked. And that's where real power begins, not in dominance, but in detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you refuse to give your peace away for free. It means you no longer trade your inner calm for temporary satisfaction. When someone tries to trigger you and you don't respond, it confuses them. It disarms them. Because they were expecting a reaction, and instead, they're met with stillness. That stillness says everything. It says, you don't control me, you don't define me, and I won't lose myself just to prove a point to you. That's not weakness. That's emotional discipline. That's self-respect. And over time, it becomes your identity, not just a tactic, but a way of life. You'll begin to notice something subtle but powerful. People start treating you differently. They respect your presence. They approach you with more care, not because you demand it, but because you don't rise to their chaos. You've become the calm one, the grounded one. And that kind of presence doesn't just protect your energy, it changes the dynamic of every room you enter. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this. Reacting might feel good for 10 seconds, but it'll cost you for hours. That high fades and the damage stays. But silence keeps your mind clean. It keeps your energy intact. It keeps you in command. Anyone can raise their voice, anyone can bark back, but very few men have the inner strength to remain composed when everything is tempting them to crack. That kind of control, the power of not reacting, that's what makes you untriggerable. And when you become untriggerable, you don't just protect your emotions, you reclaim your power. One calm response at a time. 2. How to stay calm without absorbing others' chaos. There are people who enter a room and change the air before they even speak. You know the type. Heavy energy, tense shoulders, eyes that say they're carrying something dark, and a voice that brings the storm with it. They start talking, and suddenly everything feels colder, louder, messier. 5 minutes later, you're agitated and you don't know why. Nothing happened to you, yet you feel like you're the one who took the hit. That's how invisible it is. The chaos of others doesn't always knock on the door. Sometimes it leaks in through the walls. And most people, they let it soak in. They don't know how to hold their line. They think staying calm means ignoring it. But ignoring isn't mastery. Mastery is observation without absorption. It's not pretending the negativity isn't there. It's refusing to carry it. Your nervous system was not built to be a sponge for other people's unresolved pain. If you don't train for emotional discipline, the world will hijack your state before you even notice. You'll carry their stress, their resentment, their inner noise, and it will start to sound like your own voice. But here's the truth. Not every emotion that touches you belongs to you. You're allowed to feel the heat without letting it burn you. You're allowed to hear the complaint without becoming bitter. You're allowed to see the tension and still choose stillness. And it's a choice, not a reaction. When you stay calm under pressure, when you refuse to be baited, you shift from being controlled to being in command. That kind of calm is not born in easy moments. It's forged in fire. The moment someone starts unloading their anger on you, at that moment, the crowd starts panicking. In the moment, gossip poisons the air, and you're the only one who stays quiet. That's where real mental strength through silence is built. Not when the room is peaceful, but when it isn't, and yet you are. Imagine your mind as a room with walls. No matter how loud it gets outside, you decide what comes in. If you don't set boundaries, the world will decorate that room with its own chaos. A Stoic understands that peace is not found in silence. It is chosen in noise. You walk through the fire and don't take the flames with you. Because staying calm isn't about ignoring people. It's about not letting them write your emotional script. You're not a mirror. You don't have to reflect what others feel. You're the flame that holds its shape even when the wind tries to twist it. You observe. You detach. You remain composed, not because you're numb, but because you've trained your energy to stay sovereign. Most men lose themselves in other people's moods. They absorb tone, tension, and even facial expressions without realizing it. But calm men who hold power without speaking, know that every interaction is a choice. Will I carry this, or will I release it? Will I let their storm enter, or will I keep the gates closed? When you start choosing calm as a habit, you realize how many battles were never yours. How many arguments were just projections. How many bad days were just someone else's refusal to process their own emotions. You're not here to be a container for that. You're here to be the contrast. You don't need to fix their storm. You don't need to match their tone. You simply need to stay rooted in your own center, because that's where clarity lives. And the more you do this, the more natural it becomes. The chaos doesn't disappear, but it can no longer enter. You walk through rooms, conversations, even conflict, and remain untouched. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you clean. It makes your peace unshakable. That's what calm does. It separates men who live on reaction from men who live on intention. So next time someone brings their mess to your doorstep, don't open the door with open arms. Let them knock. Let them shout. Let them leave. But you stay calm. You stay sharp. You stay. 3. The power hidden in a single pause. There's a moment, often so brief you miss it, where everything inside you wants to explode. A sharp insult hits you like a knife. Your face tightens, your chest hardens, and your mind loads its response like a weapon. Every part of you screams to strike back. But then, something different happens. You pause. Just 1 second, one breath. And in that space, you take everything back. Your calm, your control, your clarity. Most people don't make it to that moment. They're slaves to their emotions, chained to the urge to react, always ready to defend or attack. They live in reaction mode, and because of that, they repeat the same cycle. Anger, regret, apology, repeat. But the Stoic sees it for what it really is, a trap. That tiny pause is not just a breath, it's a decision. It's the power to interrupt the automatic and choose the intentional. It's where emotional self-control is forged, and where reactive men are separated from disciplined ones. When someone tries to trigger you, and you pause instead of reacting, you break the pattern they expected. You interrupt the chaos before it enters you, and in that exact moment, you're no longer just surviving, you're mastering yourself. People often mistake silence for weakness, but that pause is the most powerful form of resistance. Because it means you felt the wave coming, and instead of letting it crash through your voice and body, you let it pass. You breathed, you waited, you thought, you didn't obey your emotion, you observed it. And that simple pause became a wall between your peace and their chaos. Most men lose the fight before it starts because they never stop to ask, is this even my fight? They react because they've never trained the pause. But once you start using that space, something shifts inside you. Your nervous system slows down, your breathing becomes your anchor, your mind becomes sharp, clean, and decisive. That's where real mental strength through silence begins. Not when you suppress your feelings, but when you understand them without being led by them. That pause teaches you the difference between instinct and insight. Anyone can lash out. It takes no discipline to yell, but it takes control to wait, to examine, and to respond only when the moment actually calls for it. Sometimes, the best reaction is no reaction. Not because you're avoiding the problem, but because you've already outgrown the level where it exists, and that pause becomes the gatekeeper of your energy. Because the more you pause, the less you get dragged into other people's games. You start to see through manipulation. You start to feel less provoked, less reactive. And the beauty of it is this: you don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't need to justify why you stayed silent. The pause speaks louder than any comeback. It says, I don't need to respond to be in control. I already am. Over time, that practice becomes instinct. You hear something offensive, and instead of tensing up, you breathe. You face a challenge, and instead of panicking, you observe. You feel anger rising, and instead of unleashing it, you investigate it. And that moment, barely a second long, gives you everything back. You stop being someone who gets dragged around by circumstances and become someone who walks through them with an unshakable presence. The pause is not passive. It's a conscious decision to protect your peace, to control your emotions, and to respond only when the response is born from reason, not impulse. And if you master it, if you train yourself to pause no matter what storm hits, you don't just gain peace, you gain power. The kind of power that doesn't scream or fight. The kind of power that watches, waits, and moves with precision. That's what separates the triggered from the untouchable. Not the absence of emotion, but the strength to hold it without letting it own you. The next time your buttons are pushed, remember, your first instinct is not your only option. There's a breath waiting to be taken, a moment waiting to save you from yourself. And in that moment lives the man you're becoming. Disciplined, calm, and unshaken. 4. When you don't fight back, you win more. There's a strange silence that follows restraint. It doesn't come from fear, or avoidance, or surrender. It comes from power. Real strength isn't proven in how loudly you respond. It's in how calm you remain when someone tries to shake you. And yet, most people confuse stillness with weakness. They think if you don't fight back, you've lost. But here's what they don't see. The person who doesn't fight back has already won. Not because he silenced the other, but because he refused to let chaos enter his system. When someone disrespects you and expects a reaction, they've already positioned themselves as the one pulling strings. They provoke, hoping to see you crack. The moment you respond, even if you think you're defending your ground, you're already on theirs. The fire grows, And now it's not about truth or clarity or purpose. It's about ego. That's how energy gets drained, not in the insult itself, but in your need to prove something in return. You lose control, not because you were attacked, but because you forgot that peace is a choice. The Stoic doesn't flinch because he knows his value is not in dispute. He understands that his energy is sacred, and wasting it on battles that offer no growth is not bravery. It's emotional immaturity. Walking away is not cowardice when walking away means keeping your center. Let them talk. Let them scream. Let them twist your silence into whatever they need to feel right. That has nothing to do with you. Because the man who remains still in the face of chaos sends a message louder than any rebuttal. I am not yours to move. And that is what disarms them. The fire dies when it has no fuel. When you don't fight back, you deny their chaos oxygen. And the moment they realize they can't access your emotions, their control fades. You've taken back the one thing they truly wanted, your reaction. This doesn't mean you tolerate abuse or ignore disrespect. It means you choose how and when to respond. You stop letting the world decide when you speak, and instead move with purpose. If it's worth your time, you engage with precision. If it's not, you let silence speak. And silence always speaks louder than panic. That restraint rewires everything. You begin to see how little is actually worth arguing about. You realize how many fights were born from insecurity, from projection, from unresolved pain that had nothing to do with you. The truth is, most people don't want clarity. They want conflict. They want to be right more than they want to be free. And if you enter that game, you become one of them. But when you hold the line and choose stillness over struggle, you rise above the noise. That's not avoidance, that's self-respect. There's a kind of inner calm that builds over time when you no longer feel obligated to react. It gives you space to see people clearly. It gives you the power to act when needed, not from pressure, but from presence. Every moment you don't fight back is a message to your nervous system that says, I am in control. I choose clarity over chaos. I choose peace over ego. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to correct every false perception. Because the man who is truly grounded doesn't chase justice in every shadow. He lets time reveal what emotion cannot. And that patience, that stillness, is what makes him unforgettable. The next time someone tries to pull you into their fire, ask yourself, do I really need to walk into the flames just to prove I'm not afraid of the heat? Or can I simply let the fire die on its own, while I stand calm, composed, untouched? That answer is the difference between a man ruled by impulse and one who has mastered the quiet strength that can't be shaken. 5. Why silence is the most underrated power. In a world that runs on noise, opinions clashing, arguments trending, voices raised for attention, silence becomes not just rare, but threatening. People fear it because they don't understand it. They think if you're quiet, you're weak. If you're not clapping back, you've lost. But here's what most people never learn. Real strength doesn't raise its voice. It lowers its heartbeat. It doesn't need to respond. It already knows. Silence isn't the absence of power. It's the sign that power is no longer on display, because it doesn't have to be. And that's where the danger lies. For them, not for you. Think about it. Anyone can talk. Anyone can fill the air with opinion. But the man who stays silent when provoked, when insulted, when pulled, he carries a different energy. He's not controlled. He's composed. He doesn't react, not because he doesn't feel, but because he's already made peace with what he knows. That's the kind of control that unnerves people, because it exposes their noise for what it is. Desperation. Emotional discipline in silence isn't about being passive. It's about being strategic. You conserve your energy. You protect your emotional clarity. You don't let every voice enter your mind. That doesn't make you detached from life. It makes you sovereign in it. When someone challenges you and you say nothing, not out of fear, but out of clarity, that moment shifts the room. It's not about winning the argument. It's about showing that you're unshakable, that your self-respect isn't up for negotiation, that you don't need validation because you've already validated yourself. You see, noise often comes from insecurity. People who raise their voice usually feel unheard. People who overshare are often seeking approval they never gave themselves. And people who attack with words often do it because it's the only way they feel in control. But silence doesn't operate in that game. It doesn't fight to be right. It doesn't compete for space. It simply stands, still, present, focused, and that stillness is what breaks patterns. Most arguments are fueled by response. Take the response away and the fire fades. Most manipulation depends on emotional reaction. Stay emotionally calm and the control slips through their fingers. Most disrespect is bait for attention. Refuse to bite and suddenly the bait means nothing. That's why the man who uses silence strategically becomes untouchable. He doesn't fight noise with more noise. He just stops feeding it. And when he speaks, people listen, because they know his words aren't born from impulse. They're born from clarity. Think of it like this. A wild animal thrashes in panic when trapped. A master doesn't. He waits. He calculates. He responds only when necessary. That's what your silence should be. Not weakness, not avoidance, but composure sharpened by inner discipline. You don't owe anyone a reaction. You don't owe them a performance. You owe yourself peace. And the more you honor that, the more power you hold. People may misunderstand it. They may call you cold, but silence is never about them. It's about who you become when you stop explaining yourself to a world that never understood you to begin with. True silence is more than not speaking. It's when your mind stops screaming for attention. It's when your emotions stop begging to be seen. It's when your presence speaks so loudly that you don't need to raise your voice. And that's what makes you different. That's what makes you unshakable. Not your ability to overpower, but your ability to hold your line when everything around you wants to pull you out of character. So when the moment comes, when they try to provoke, manipulate, or embarrass you, remember this. Silence is not submission. It's the armor of the disciplined, the voice of the grounded, and the ultimate proof that your energy can't be touched by noise. 6. Accept reality or be crushed by it. Life does not wait for your readiness. It moves, it breaks, it shifts. People walk away without warning. Careers you trusted collapse overnight. Health fades, plans fail. And when they do, the pain isn't just in what happened, it's in what you told yourself it was supposed to be. That's the part no one talks about. The real suffering doesn't come from reality itself. It comes from the refusal to accept it. You don't drown because it rains. You drown because you stood still, arguing with the sky instead of learning how to breathe through the storm. This is where most people stay stuck. They keep fighting what already happened, clinging to expectations that are now dust. They replay the moment. They resist the truth. They say, it shouldn't be this way, but it is. And that's where everything breaks. Not outside, but within. The Stoic doesn't run from pain. He doesn't sugarcoat what hurts. He looks directly at it and says, this is real. Now what? That's the shift, from collapse to clarity. Because the longer you reject what's already true, the longer you suffer twice. Once from the event and again from your denial. But when you accept, fully, quietly, and without resistance, something incredible happens. The pain doesn't vanish, but it becomes clean. You stop adding weight to it with anger, confusion, and blame. You stop being the victim of what should have been and become the one who can handle what is. Acceptance is not surrender. It's a refusal to let the moment crush you. It's recognizing that peace doesn't come from forcing life into your plan. It comes from aligning yourself with what's already here. Like a river that flows around rocks, not over them. You don't break yourself trying to remove the obstacle. You adapt. You adjust. You move with it. And in doing so, you become stronger. Not because the storm stopped, but because you stopped resisting the rain. Think about how much energy is wasted on rejection, rejecting outcomes, rejecting people, rejecting emotions. You tell yourself the breakup was a mistake, the failure unfair, the pain undeserved. But none of that changes the truth. You still wake up in the same moment, and now you're carrying resentment on top of reality. That is the weight that breaks most people, not the facts, but the story they write around them. And that story only changes when you decide to stop running. When you sit with what is, however uncomfortable, and say, this is where I am. That's where healing begins. That's where emotional self-control is born. Not by suppressing emotion, but by refusing to be ruled by it. It doesn't mean you like what happened, it means you no longer give it the power to destroy you. And that's what most don't understand. They think acceptance is weakness, that it means giving up. But it's the opposite. It's the moment you stop breaking yourself against a reality that isn't listening. You take your power back, not by changing the past, but by facing it. Cleanly, directly, without illusion. And that shift gives you clarity. You begin to see what can be changed and what cannot. You stop trying to control outcomes and start mastering how you respond. This is the foundation of inner peace. Not control, but alignment. You're no longer bracing for life to cooperate. You're standing calmly in the middle of its chaos, unshaken, because you've dropped the illusion that things must go your way. That mindset frees your energy. It makes you mentally strong. You no longer spiral in fear or frustration every time something goes wrong. You simply adjust your breath, your focus, your pace, and move forward. When you live like this, you become resilient, not because life gets easier, but because you stop needing it to. And that's what true freedom is. Not escaping the pain, but no longer being enslaved by the story around it. So the next time life breaks something you thought was solid, don't collapse. Pause. Breathe. Accept what is, and move with strength through the wreckage. Because the man who accepts reality doesn't get crushed by it. He becomes the one who rises from it, steady and unshakable. In a world filled with noise, pressure, and emotional traps, the ability to stay calm under pressure is no longer optional, it's essential. The man who reacts to everything is owned by everything. But the one who builds emotional self-control, who pauses before speaking, who holds silence like a sword, that man becomes unshakable. Remember, you don't need to win every fight. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. Real power is quiet. It's built in moments of restraint, in the discipline to respond with clarity, not emotion. When you detach from chaos, when you observe without absorbing, when you choose presence over panic, you reclaim your freedom. This kind of inner strength doesn't show up overnight. It's trained, one breath at a time, one choice at a time. So listen again, practice daily, and let your life reflect that strength in everything you do. If this message spoke to you, share your story in the comments. What moment taught you to stay calm instead of react? What changed once you stopped absorbing others' energy? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs today. And if this brought you value, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content on building emotional discipline, calm resilience, and untriggerable strength.